Hi everyone, it's Crimson Chains, your favorite pineapple. I'm trying this new thing where I'm going to do there's like sketchbook story time and stuff like that, so kind of like that, I guess. But I've had this topic in my mind for a while and I thought that I should talk about applying to conventions. So, here we go. Well, it can seem pretty intimidating to try for our salary in a convention at first. There's a lot to figure out. This video will be the first of 4 parts where I explain my experiences with being an artist at anime conventions. To start with, I will explain applying to conventions. The next video will be on preparing after you've been accepted. The one after that will be what to expect when you're at the convention. And the second will just be like miscellaneous thoughts I have about conventions and just random things. Alright, so here we go. Once again to anime convention. Awesome! I've been doing this concert for just like a year now, but I feel like I've gotten a good idea for the system and I thought it'd be cool to share some tips with you. I hope that you enjoy this video. Please let me know in the comments if you have any further questions after watching. Alright, and so without further ado, let's start with what conventions should I apply to? It might seem kind of obvious, but I think the best place to start is at local conventions. You can just kind of Google around in your state, just like insert state and then anime convention, and it should come up with something. But if you just want to look around like nationwide, I've always found it helpful to just Google like conventions, North America for me, and there's like some sites that have conventions listed out by date, and you can just kind of Google them and figure out which ones you like. When I say local, it can also just be like out of state, just like a drivable distance or something you feel comfortable with getting to. It's cheaper to stay in state, it's cheaper to just be somewhere that you don't have to pay for flights, because flights, oh my god, are a hassle, and I will get to that in the next video. If you want to do an out-of-state convention, I recommend looking at the attendance. The way I handle that is that I will usually look at the convention, like Google it, and then see what Wikipedia says, or their Facebook group. If I look at Facebook, I try to see how many people have liked the page, and then I divide that by half, because chances are not everyone who likes the page will go to the convention. Some just don't have the money or just like that convention a lot, but a lot of the bigger cons will have Wikipedia pages that have attendance reports. In terms of what I think is worth going out of state for, usually in my mind, I don't really know where I came up with this number, but like around 4,000 are conventions I've done pretty okay at flying in generally, so those ones I'll usually look into. But again, for your first time convention, I would always recommend going local, so it gets you a better feel, it's more affordable. Alright, when should I apply? This is kind of a tricky thing, and not every convention is super upfront about when their applications open up, and it can be kind of annoying, but generally, check their website when you think, oh, this con sounds cool, I better go check, and you'll have to dig around a lot. Sometimes the artist alley registration thing is under registration, sometimes there's just a page called exhibitors, and you look into that, and like sometimes it's just weird places. Oftentimes I have to find myself googling convention, artist alley to get to their artist alley page. Not every convention calls it an artist alley too, so be prepared for that. But generally, most conventions will open up their applications like 6 to 9 months before the convention happens. Sometimes further out, sometimes shorter, depending on the size of the convention. But generally, I think 6 to 9 months is a good time to at least check their website and see if they have information up. You can also follow them on social media. A lot of places will post when applications are open up on their Twitter. I'm not very good at keeping up with that though. Alright. The application process. This one also varies, and there's like about 4 systems that I see as more common. So the 3 types and the 4 types of the combination is there's juried, there's lottery, and there's first come first served. Lottery is just, it's what it sounds like, it's a lottery. You put in your name and they'll draw numbers, and if you're lucky you'll get in. There's a lot of conventions that do this. The one that comes to mind right now for me is Otakon. Another one is just juried. Juried can be a little bit scary. You have to submit usually either a portfolio, like a website, or just some selected works you have, and then they will decide if they like your art enough to let you in. One of the conventions that does this is Fanime. First come first serve is exactly what it sounds. They just have booths open, and they will have a very specific time where their website opens, and they're like, go get it. Buy a booth. And you go, and you try to buy a booth really fast. AX actually does this, which I think is pretty interesting considering it's such a large convention, and so it sells out in like a millisecond. The other thing that can happen is you have a mixture of jury plus lottery. What this means is there's just like an initial hurdle to get in, which is they have to think like, yeah, your art's good enough, it's fine, we can't really make a executive decision, so they put your name into a lottery, and then they do a lottery. My local convention, NDK, actually does this. So here's some advantages and disadvantages of each one that I've just noticed. Lottery is nice, it's quick, but it is based on luck. There's never any guarantees, and a really big convention, there's especially just so many applications, you really can't count on anything. Juried is nice because, again, you kind of feel like if you're like really skilled that you might have a better chance of getting in, or like it's just kind of interesting to see where you stand, but it takes a long time. Like, it'll take them at least several months, maybe more, and it can be really anxiety-inducing sometimes if they miss their own deadline with saying, like, we'll get back to you then, like, they don't. Let's see. First come, first serve is obviously very nice because it is the quickest. You know if you got a booth or not the second whether your purchase goes through. But it's very anxiety-inducing. You have to be super on the ball. A lot of conventions will just sell out, obviously, very quickly. Access sells out very quickly, and so many others. You have to be on top of it. So, portfolios. This is an interesting one. So, jury shows require portfolios, and it can be a little bit intimidating to set it up, especially if it's just your first time and you don't really know what people are looking for. The thing I recommend is just having a large variety of things. The point is that there's going to be so many people applying, and you have to try and make your stuff stand out, so you have to show versatility. It helps to have characters, from different fandoms, helps to have characters in different poses, complicated backgrounds. If you do lots of different styles, just showing off your different styles. But it can be really hard. Just basically put your best foot forward. There are some conventions, like Fandom actually, which have rubrics, and I recommend checking them out, but they're usually kind of vague. They'll be like, we give this many points for creativity, and this many points for, like, technical skill and stuff like that, which is kind of helpful, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, okay, I mean, I guess, I still don't really know what you're looking for, but it's kind of nice. They also don't ever really give you your score, which is also kind of nice, because you don't, like, have to feel bad. You're not gonna get like, oh, you got a C+, sorry, try again next time. Another thing that is important to know is that some conventions do not accept, like, Tumblrs or, like, Twitter things. So if they ask you for a website, they want you, like, to have a website, not a blog. And that's really easy. I just have a website I set up on Wix, and I don't use it for anything except for having a portfolio to send to conventions. It's free and I have a really bad URL, but it's because there's no points in really that website except for sending to cons. Make sure to read all the rules on the website about what is and what is not allowed. Like, there's various cons I've been to that have said, like, hey, don't have Homestuck art, or don't have Welcome to Night Vale, because the creators have said, we don't want people selling stuff of our things, which is very fair. Just read the rules. A website I like to go to see about whether a convention is worth going to, actually, is Artist Alley Confidential. It's just a website where people who've been Artist Alleys, like, post reviews about the Artist Alley. They talk about affordability, staff, layout, things like that. I find it really helpful, especially when conventions change, like, locations. Like, it might have been a really cool convention back in 2016, but since then it moved to a bad venue, and now it's bad. So it's really good to keep up with changes, but always make your own calls, because I've definitely been to conventions where people said this was bad and I did pretty well. But I think it's a good jumping off point, especially if you're new. When you fill out an application, a lot of applications are like Google Forms, and you'll get a copy of what you sent in to your email, but sometimes they're not. And sometimes I don't get a copy, and sometimes I'll just forget if I applied to that con or not, and I go, should I apply again, or So what I do now is after I apply to something, I will take a picture of the screen that's like, thanks for applying, and I'm like, okay, I took a picture of it, and I put it in a special album, and now I know for a fact I applied to this, even if I didn't get an email. I did. So that's just the way I'm using it myself to keep track of things. Don't get discouraged if you don't get in the first time. I got really lucky. The first convention I applied to, which is NDK, I got into it. I haven't gotten into it ever since. But the first time I applied, I did get into it, but I know that it can be discouraging not to get in, especially in your first try, and it's just, you have to keep trying. Each year as you draw, you will just get better and better, and each time you apply, you'll just have better chances. If it's like a lottery, just the law of large numbers dictates if you apply to things enough times, eventually you'll get in. And it can be really tough because rejection hurts, but keep going. Conventions are really fun, and you just have to keep going. Well, I hope that this has been helpful, and I know it can be pretty hard to put yourself out there, but just know that the only way to get in is to try, and that even if you don't get in, it doesn't mean you're an awful artist or anything. You're still a wonderful artist, and you need to just believe in yourself. This has been Crimson Chains, the Pineapple Queen, saying, see you next time. Thank you. Goodbye.